यार ज्वाइन तो हो जा रहा है पर तुमको स्क्रीन नहीं दिख रही
Now I can see.
Now you can see the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can begin with the session now.
Sure.
Okay, so good afternoon to all of you. uh, Today we have this session on walk through colonial Mumbai. Now, all of us are aware that Mumbai is a dream city for many of us, and it is the commercial center and the financial center of our country. And today, the session will actually through this session, we'll delve into the history of or the cultural heritage of Mumbai that we have. So, to present today's session, we have Miss Jeru Behrooj. Uh, I will just give you a brief introduction about Miss Jeru. She has graduated in ancient Indian culture, and she is a holder of diplomas in business management, gemology, social communication media. Uh, she has spent 8 years in costume jewelry exports, worked with best exporters, selling to best
Department stores.
stores in USA and Europe. She started as a coordinator and ended as designer and consultant. She has spent 3 years selling space for international exhibitions, heading All India sales team. Presently, she's working as regional level tourist guide, licensed by Government of India. The other activities that Jeru is involved with is Reiki healing. She's Grandmaster, Awaken Kundalini. She's also a writer and has written very good publications. Uh, the goal of her life is to bring peace to the world and God realization. So she is a very beautiful and humble person. So we welcome you to IITTM Noida, and we are happy that you are here to share your city's cultural heritage. So the online space is all yours, and you can begin with the session.
Okay. Hi everyone. Welcome to Mumbai. It has been raining very heavily in Mumbai today. Lots of areas are flooded, and it's a. Can everyone hear me?
You
Yes,
can
ma'am.
louder.
And it's a very beautiful city. I'm sure all of you want to come here one day. So we keep on saying Mumbai, Bombay. Uh, we use different names. So the name Mumbai comes from the Hindu mother goddess called Mumba Devi. The Portuguese gave the name Bombayam, beautiful bay, which the English anglicized to Bombay. So we keep on interchanging the names, so that's not a big problem for us. So through the webinar, I might use a different name, so don't get confused. We are talking of the same city. Okay, can you change, Rishabh? Rishabh, can you? Yeah, okay. Now, we were 7 islands in the Arabian Sea. On the left side, you can see those 7 very small, tiny islands. The Isle of Bombay, Colaba, Old Woman's Island, Mazgaon, Parel, Worli, Mahim. In the early 19th century, the British joined the islands, the 7 islands, and made it into a one land mass. It took them 60 years. Otherwise, we would have been like Venice, waterways instead of roadways. Now, history of Bombay starts in the 17th century with the English. Till then, there were Hindu rulers, Muslim rulers. Even the Portuguese occupied it for 100 years. Can you change, Rishabh? Now, this is King Charles II of England. So when he marries the Portuguese princess, Catherine Braganza, the Portuguese gave the 7 islands of Bombay as dowry. He was a king who had inherited a throne but no money. So he needed to marry someone rich. So he marries the Portuguese princess, who he himself describes as ugly as a bat. Anyway, the English king is not going to come to India, so he has no use of the seven sleepy, mosquito-infested, marshy islands. So he rents it out to the East India Company for 10 gold pounds. Can we have this another slide?
Jeru, can you be a bit louder because your voice is very low?
Oh, okay. Should I wear? I'll plug into onto the
I
screen.
think so that will be better.
Can you hear me now?
This is better. This is better.
Okay. So the Portuguese. Can I have you have the next picture? So this is Princess Catherine Braganza of Portugal. So she was a Catholic. King Charles II was a Protestant. The courtiers tried to make them fight, but he was a very sweet. Somewhere he realizes he's married a very nice person. So respect comes up, and anyway, he has a lot of children by his mistresses. His wife had no children, so he dies young, and then she goes back to Portugal, and she's buried over there. But because of their marriage, their wedding, our city, this modern city of Bombay happens. Can we have the next picture? Now, when the East India Company took over Bombay in 1668, naturally, to protect their territory, they built a fort. Rishabh, can we have the next picture? So from Lion Gate in the south of Bombay to Victoria Terminus Station in the north, the fort had 3 gates. The Apollo Gate, which was next to the Regal Cinema. If you ever come to Bombay, there's a Regal Cinema. And then there was the Church Gate, where the Flora Fountain stands. And then there's the Bazaar Gate, which is across the General Post Office. Inside the fort, they built offices, homes, hospitals, churches, temples, schools. Rishabh, can you please change the picture? Yeah. The fort was demolished. A little part of the portion of the wall still is in the naval dockyard, which we do not have access to. But this picture shows an extension of Fort George, which was an extension of the fort. Now, why Bombay became prominent? There was this second governor, Gerald Ongier. He realizes that it's a natural harbor, unlike Surat. So till now, people were using Surat as the main seaport. Now, Surat would get silted. So they realized that this was a natural harbor and we should use Bombay. Then the second was that Surat was under the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb. And they had to pay him taxes. So they didn't want to pay taxes. Over here, they didn't have to pay anyone taxes. Then, do you know that the American Civil War was the one which gave the boost to Bombay, building of Bombay? Now, cotton was exported from America to the textile mills in Manchester. When the American Civil War took place between 1861 to 1865, the cotton stopped being imported into Manchester. So it was from Bombay that cotton was exported to Manchester. Can we have the next picture? Then the Suez Canal opened up in 1869. So that was an easy route to Europe. So through the Arabian Sea, via Red Sea, via Mediterranean to Europe. So this became very handy for everyone. Today, this city gives out 40% of all taxes collected in India. Headquarters of all the industries, film industry, which is bigger than Hollywood. We're the biggest port in India. Do you know 40% trading happens through Bombay alone? Oil coming out of our shores. And we are the financial capital of India. As I always joke to people, we make the money, Delhi spends it. Okay, next, Rishabh. Rishabh, can we have the next picture? Now, this is the St. Thomas Cathedral. It was built in 1718. So 2 years ago, they celebrated 300 years of its existence. Do you know Christianity came to India in the 1st century AD? Not with the Portuguese, not with the British. It was St. Thomas, the doubting Thomas, the apostle of Jesus Christ. He brought Christianity to India. And when the English decided to build the first church, they named it after him. And do you know why they built the church in Bombay? To keep the morals of the British soldiers upright. This is built in English Gothic architecture. Inside there are memorials of English soldiers, officers of the East India Company. The windows have, the window panes are made of mother of pearl. So very soft light, sunlight comes inside the church. Outside the church is a water fountain gifted by a wealthy Parsi merchant called Sir Kausji Jangir Redimani. I'll talk about Sir Kausji Jangir again later on. Can we have the next picture? This is how India...
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm changing the slide.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll keep on talking. Don't worry.
Many of the students are asking that please a bit louder because many of them are not able to listen to you.
Okay. Now, this is the town hall. Many of you might have seen it in our movie. They show it as a... Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. We are able to hear you.
Okay. So this is the town hall. Many of you must have seen it in dramatic scenes in Hindi movies depicted as a courthouse. And it was built to promote art and culture. It's built in the neoclassical architecture with Doric columns. It's built in 1804 and it was built to promote art and culture. Public meetings, debates on civic and political discussions were held over here. In 1827, they joined the Asiatic Society, and now it is the biggest library of Bombay. And it has Oriental manuscripts in Sanskrit, in Persian, in Urdu. It has 1 lakh rare books on literature, art, social science. It has also a first edition of Dante's Divine Comedy. They say Hitler had requested them to sell it to him, but they refused. And it has original coins from the Mughal era. Can we have the next picture, please? Now, this is the Horniman Circle. All these buildings are neoclassical architecture, uniform facade. It houses banks and offices. The archways for people to walk in shelter from rain and sun. Now, why did this place get the name Horniman Circle? It used to be called Elphinstone Circle after Lord Elphinstone, who was the governor of Bombay. But after independence, it was renamed Horniman Circle, and rightly enough so. Just a little away is the offices of Mumbai Samachar, a Gujarati newspaper which is still published even today. Now, Mumbai Samachar had an English edition called the Bombay Chronicles. Its editor was Benjamin Horniman. Now, Benjamin Horniman was backed the freedom movement, And he was the one who made it public about, he told the whole world about what happened at the Jallianwala Bagh and how the British massacred the Indians over here. So that's why, in honor of Benjamin Horniman, this area is called Horniman Circle. Can we have the next slide? Now, I'm going a little, although our walk doesn't take us to the Victoria Terminus Station, but I'm still taking you to the Victoria Terminus Station, which is a World Heritage Site on the UNESCO list. It's also called the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Terminus. It's also called the Bori Bandar. Bori is sacks and Bandar is a port. It has been built by Frederick Stevens in 1888 when Queen Victoria was celebrating her golden jubilee of becoming a queen. So they named it after her. On the dome, there's the Lady of Progress. Animals that are jutting out are gargoyles, drain pipes with rainwater from the terraces. On the gate, there's a lion which stands for England, tiger which stands for India. It's built in the Venetian Gothic architecture. It's got a lot of Indian flora and fauna sculpted. Peacocks, cobra, rams, name it, and a lot of Indian animals and birds have been sculpted over here. Who did the sculpting? You know Rudyard Kipling, Jungle Book? His father, John Lockhart Kipling, and his students have sculpted all these flora and fauna in the station. And the architect, Frederick Stevens, was influenced by the St. Pancras Station, which is in London. The land was owned by Nana Shankar Sheth, a wealthy Maharashtrian, and he was a spice trader, and he gave away his home, which was over here. When the train started, the first tickets were given out of his window, home window. Okay, and the Mumbadevi temple used to be over here before, and it was shifted later on. And this is a World Heritage Site on the UNESCO list. 3.2 million people travel every single day by this station alone. And I may be a guide, but I don't mind admitting there are times my tourists show me things I've not seen in this building. It's so beautifully sculpted, so intricately sculpted. Even I don't take this thing that I know this building very well. Can we have the next station? Okay, now this is the Victoria Terminus Station on Independence Day. It's littered in the tricolor. Can we have the next picture? Now this is our BMC, the Bombay Municipal Corporation, or the Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation, is the richest city hall in Asia. Again built by Frederick Stevens. Frederick Stevens, now this is exactly opposite the Victoria Terminus Station. And Frederick Stevens knew he had made a marvelous job with the Victoria Terminus Station. So he did not want anything to overshadow that building. So what he did was, he made this building taller. And it's Oriental Gothic. If you see the domes, it's built like, the domes are like the Muslim Islamic architecture domes, while the dome on the Victoria Terminus Station is the octagonal dome, which is typical of Venetian Gothic architecture. Now over here there is a statue of it's called the Urbs Prima in India. That's the prime city of India. It's like an angel carrying a ship in her hand. And there is a statue of Sir Firoz Mehta, the first Indian Municipal Commissioner of Bombay. So now the story is that they were going to keep King Edward VII statue over here. So Sir Firoz Mehta said nothing doing what has he done for India and especially for Mumbai? So his friends ribbed him, saying, should your statue be over here? He said, why not? I worked very hard for the city. After his death, they really installed his statue. Okay, can we have the next picture, Rishabh? Now, this is the General Post Office, built in 1913 by John Begg. It's built in Indo-Saracenic type of architecture. And if you see the dome, it's copied from the Gol Gumbaz, the Bijapur Mosque. And the central hall down below, exactly below this dome, central dome, is a wooden well, and it has windows, and in the windows, like stamps are sold, postcards are sold, things like that. And by the way, many of you have seen this place. You know where? If you've seen the Munnabai picture, where Gandhiji's picture, where this old school teacher wants his pension and he removes all his clothes. So that was picturized inside where the well is. Please, if you've not seen that movie, see it. You will understand what I'm talking about. Can we have the picture? I think next picture I have installed that central, yeah. See, this is from above, where the dome is. It has been pictured from there. This is what it looks like inside. And by the way, our General Post Office also has started making stamps which have fragrance of flowers like roses, of marigolds, also of eatables like batata vada. So if you're living abroad and want to eat batata vada, can't get it, at least you can get a waft of that batata vada from that stamp. Can we have the next picture? Okay. Now, this is the Horniman Circle. Again, we are coming back. Okay. So, where you are looking from is the town hall. Okay. You can see the Horniman Circle in the center. So, this garden, what is the garden today, used to be the stock market. Why I took you to the Victoria Terminal Station, which is about 5-10 minutes away, was because all the goods from all over India, let's say cotton, okay, would come from inland India to Boribandar, okay, to the Victoria Terminal Station, and then it would be brought over here and sold. The stocks would be sold over here in this place, okay, and then where the town hall is, behind there are dockyards. So then they would be shipped on the ships. And by the way, just for your information, the General Post Office also has the secret tunnels which go into the sea. Okay. Now, if you look a little, if you are looking just straight, where the I've written Horniman Circle over there, just look below. That's the St. Thomas Cathedral. Okay? So now we are going to walk into that lane. And by the way, this last year they found, under this garden, they found a basement. That means perhaps all the stocks which were not sold were stocked down below. Okay? So now we are going straight over here to the Flora Fountain, which was when there was a fort. That was where the church, gate of the church was. So you can see the church over there, and that was the fort gate which would lead to the church. So now the gate is gone. Okay, the fort was dismantled in the 19th century, I told you, and Bombay was, a lot of land was reclaimed from the sea also. We'll see that in the next picture. Can we have the next picture, please? Okay, now this is the Mumbai Samachar building. I told you, Bombay Chronicles Benjamin Horniman worked over here. Can we have the next picture? Okay, this is the beautiful Flora fountain built in memory of Sir Bartle Frere. Sir Bartle Frere is very important to Bombay because he was a governor. What Bombay looks like, the beautiful Bombay, is thanks to him. He persuaded the Indians to build grand buildings in Bombay. So, in his memory, they've built this Flora fountain. And I just want to tell you this. A lot of Indians paid for most of these buildings. Okay, a lot of Indian businessmen paid for all these structures. But you have to also understand that forget the politics of the British, okay? Forget that. But there were a lot of officers of the East India Company, a lot of officers of the British government who gave permissions to make Bombay what it is. And by the way, all the drainage system, etc., which came about in the 19th century. So as London was being constructed, underground water pipes were laid, drainage system was laid. They did the same thing in Bombay. That's why Bombay is so. Many times our tourists tell us, take the Indian people out, you could win Europe. Okay, which is true. So you also have to give credit to those people, those British officers who, and some of them were punished also for being more lenient and giving away more than they should have. So you have to give credit to a lot of people in what Bombay is today. Okay. So this Flora fountain is built in memory of Sir Bartle Frere. It's designed by R. Norman Shaw, and it was sculpted in fine Portland stone by James Forsyth. Originally, it was meant to be kept in our zoo, the Victoria Gardens, but then they decided to keep it over here as a central place. So today, this is the financial hub of Bombay. You can see peeping behind that brown building is the Bombay Stock Exchange. And recently, for 2 years, okay, for us guys, it was a bad time because they had a cordon of the area. And but the beautiful restoration was done by Vikas Dilavari, conservationist heritage architect. So you have to give credit to Mr. Dilavari. Can we have the next picture? In the same place, after independence in 1955, we had Bombay was this state was called Bombay Presidency. Now, what did Bombay Presidency have? It had a little of Sindh. It had the whole of Gujarat. It had whole of Maharashtra and a little of Karnataka. So it was bifurcated into states, and especially Gujarat and Mumbai had a fight that they both wanted Bombay. Okay, and a lot of people were died, and so that's the Martyr Square, Hutatma Chowk, built in their memory. So a lot of business which is done in Bombay, even today, is done by the Gujarati-speaking people. So there are the Gujarati Hindus, the Jains, the Parsis, because the Parsis, although they are Persians, they had landed at Gujarat, and the Bori Muslims. So all those communities, they come from Gujarat. So that's why they wanted Bombay to be part of Gujarat. Anyway, so just now, Bombay is in Maharashtra. Okay. Can we have the next building? You can see on the right side over there, the big high roof. Now, this is the High Court. It's designed by Colonel John Fuller. He had copied it from a German castle. Inside there are sculptures like monkey reading the law book, dog wearing a judge's collar. This is a high court for Maharashtra, Goa, Daman, Diu, Dadar, Nagar, Haveli. So this is the high court for all these places. Now, do you know the first judge, Judge Grant, locked up the court, went back to England? Reason? He felt the East India Company was interfering in his judgment. So that's really incredible. So he was sent back to London. When he was sent back to Bombay, Indians went in a procession to welcome him. So that's very incredible. This is what I'm trying to tell you, that don't get into this thing, political debate of politics, okay? Let's see what the ordinary people did, the ordinary officers did. Now, Lokmanya Tilak was tried over here by the British, and he was, do you know who his lawyer was? Any guesses? Muhammad Ali Jinnah was his lawyer. Anyway, they lost the case and he was exiled to Burma. And it's very ironic that the Burmese king Thibaw was exiled to Ratnagiri, which is the birthplace of Lokmanya Tilak. That's very, very, very ironic. Can we have the next slide, please? Okay, so this is the Bombay University. It's built in 1857. Sir George Gilbert Scott is the architect. And by the way, Sir George Gilbert Scott never came to India. And I mentioned the St. Pancras station in London, which Frederick Stevens copied it and made it into Victoria Terminus Station. So he's the original architect of St. Pancras Station of London. And this is the Convocation Hall built by Sir Kazi Jangir. It's a miniature of the Notre Dame Church in Paris. In case you've never been to Paris, this is, you can see this structure. It's a miniature of the Notre Dame Church. And it's got a rose window with zodiac signs. And you must have seen it in a lot of advertisements and a lot of movies, because the insides, we cannot go in after what happened in Bombay. We are not allowed to go into many of these structures, but in case someone takes you in, it's beautiful. Can we change the slide, please? Okay. Now this clock tower that you see has the library of the university down below. It was built by a stockbroker called Premchand Roychand. And it has busts of Indian men dressed up differently to show the different communities that came to Bombay to work. So there's a Kutchi, a Gujarati, a Marathi, a Parsi, a Sindhi, a Kannada. So all those dress up differently and they have been shown. Remember, the architects were British, but the Indian businessmen paid for these structures. Indian stone was used. Indian artists were at work. So you see Indian motifs in what is European architecture. And just to draw your attention, like this High Court, which is next door, okay, it was built by public subscription. The town hall was built by public subscription, okay, while Premchand Roychand paid for the library and the clock tower. Now, why did he make a clock tower? That's a very interesting story. He was a Jain, and according to his religious tenets, they would stop eating at sunset. his mother was blind, so she would not know when the sun sets. So he built the clock tower, so when it chimes, she would know. So that was the whole idea of the. Anyway, now when the fort was there, I told you there was a fort. So the fort wall was where these buildings are, the High Court, the university. They are on what was the rampart walls of the fort. Okay. Then there was this greens over here, and or rather there was a sand over there, and beyond that was the sea. Okay. Now this is the Oval Maidan today. If you come to Bombay on Sundays, you'll see more cricket pitches over here than you've seen in your entire lifetime. Okay. Next picture, please. Rishabh, can we have the next picture? Okay. Now, see, we are looking at on the right side is the clock tower and the High Court and the university, and then there you can even see the Sessions Court on the right side. And you're looking at the tall modern building on the right side is the Bombay Stock Exchange. Okay. On the left side are the Art Deco residential buildings built of concrete and cement. Okay. And all these buildings from here to the Marine Drive all these are World Heritage Sites on the UNESCO list. These Gothic structures on the right side are World Heritage Sites on the UNESCO list. Can we have the next picture, please? And you can see the old Maidan in the... Okay, now this is the Kala Ghoda. Kala Ghoda is... this area is called Kala Ghoda because there was this statue of King Edward VII astride a black horse. It was donated by Sir Albert Sassoon, a Jewish businessman. And in this area, there are art galleries, there are education and cultural institutions, there are cafeterias. There's a Kala Ghoda festival that happens in February. Okay? And now they've removed this structure, and in its place, they have built a black horse, and this statue is in our zoo now. Can we have the next picture? Okay, so that's the new sculpture which has been installed. Can we have the next picture? Okay, now this at Kala Ghoda, there is this Punjab Grill, which is actually used to be Wayside Inn. Why I'm showing you this picture, they do sell a very brilliant biryani. That's another story. But this used to be Wayside Inn. And Dr. Ambedkar, he wrote the Constitution sitting inside the Wayside Inn cafeteria. So he would sit over here and write the Constitution of India. So this place itself has historical significance. Can we have the next picture? Okay. Now, opposite, this is the Kala Ghoda area we're talking about. So there's this Watson's Esplanade Hotel. It was the first grand hotel built in Bombay. First iron cast prefabricated buildings built in Bombay. And they say Mark Twain came and lived over here. The first movie ever made by Lumiere Brothers was screened over here. And this Mr. Watson used to be an importer of furnishings. So he had become very rich by importing furnishing in India. And he built this grand hotel. Dogs and Indians were not allowed. And they say Jamshedji Tata was not allowed in. That's why, very insulted, although he was a very, very, very rich man, he was not allowed in. He built the Taj Mahal Hotel, which welcomed everyone. So, unfortunately, now this building is falling apart, and all this whole precinct is a World Heritage Site, this whole area. So, the UNESCO has told them that if you pull down this building, because it's got a lot of historical significance, architectural significance, we will remove the World Heritage tag on the entire area. So that's why they've not been able to do that. Because after Mr. Watson sold the building, it was rented out room by room by room, and then you know how the tenant rents it out to sublets it to someone else, and yet sublets it to someone else, and no one looked after the building. So that's why, unfortunately, it has been falling apart. Can we see the next building, please? So that's the Watson's Hotel now. Unfortunately, in a very bad state. Okay, next building, next picture. Okay, now just in that one of the by-lanes over there is this Kenneth Set Eliyahu Synagogue. It's a Jewish temple, and it's built in 1884 by the Sassoon family. It's Sephardic Jews. And by the way, we have 8 synagogues in Bombay. You'll be happy to know that 5 are in the Muslim areas with Muslim caretakers. This is how Bombay lives. And recently, the Jindal family, who are the industrialists of iron and steel industrialists, they restored this building. So this is how we live in India. Okay. So it's a very beautiful synagogue and beautifully restored recently. Can we have the next picture? Okay, so I told you in this Kalagola area, there are a lot of art galleries. There's the museum gallery, there's the Macmillan Bhavan, there are lots of other art galleries, and there's the Jangir Art Gallery, the first art gallery that opened for contemporary artists to show their works over here. Again, it's built by the descendants of Kawasi Jangir. By the way, Kawasi Jangir's surname was Ready Money. We Parsis, we did not have surnames in the olden days. And the surname business came with the British. So I have cousins who are Daruwala, Soda Waterwala, okay, doctors. So from your business that you are in, okay, or from your Kazi Jangir Ready Money, because he had a lot of money, he would lend it to people. So Ready Money. Then you got your surname from your physical attributes. We have a Sir Petite, who is short. Okay, so Petite in French is short. Or from the place you came from. So I'm a Barucha. My ancestors came from Baruch in Gujarat. Or there are Surtis who came from Surat, Adajanias who came from Adajan. So surnames like these. Okay, so contemporary artists show their works over here at the Jangir Art Gallery. Okay, there were 1, 2, 3. They have 5 galleries over here in this precinct. Can we have the next picture? Okay, so this is the Army Navy building. It was a cooperative society store of the Army and the Navy. It's built with a new classical architecture, and today it houses West Side, the department store of the Tatas. Can we have the next picture? Okay, now this is the Sassoon Library, the David Sassoon Library. It's built in Venetian Gothic architecture. There was this European staff working in government, mint, and dockyard. They started an institute to provide education to adults in a rented premises. Then Sir David Sassoon came forward and donated money, and today it houses, so it's the Sir David Sassoon Mechanical Institute and Library. It's built by J. Kemble and G.E. Gosling in 1847. Can we have the next building? Okay, that's my college, Elphinstone College. I studied over here. And it was built as a government archives. And the building money was paid for by Sir Qazi Jahangir, the Parsi philanthropist. It was named after the departing governor, Honorable Monstott Elphinstone, who promoted education. And it's built in 1856 in Romanesque type of architecture. The architect is James Troopshaw, and it's got a lot of famous alumni like Dr. Ambedkar, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Jamshedji Tata, of course, yours truly also. If you've seen the movie Sanjay, that was over here. Of course, you saw what he did in this. He was one class ahead of me. Okay, and it also had famous teachers like Dadabhai Naoroji. Okay. Can we have the next picture, please? Oh, I just forgot to tell you that outside the Jahangir Art Gallery, there's also a street gallery. So if you cannot afford to show your work inside the Jahangir Art Gallery, you can always show your work on the streets. And okay, now this is the Prince of Wales Museum, or the Chhatrapati Shivaji Vastu Sangrahalaya, and it's built by George Whitted in Indo-Saracenic type of architecture, which is a mixture of Hindu and Muslim architecture. And King George V came over here as Prince of Wales in 1905, and he laid the foundation of the museum. That's why it was called the Prince of Wales Museum. And during the World War I period, it was used as a hospital. It's got a lot of galleries, like the Sculptures Gallery. It's got Tibetan Buddhist Gallery. It's got miniature paintings, textile gallery, arms ammunition. It's got a natural history museum that's stuffed animals and birds. It's got Tata galleries like with Chinese and Japanese porcelain. So it's a museum which should be seen. This museum, and there's another museum at Baikala, the Baudaji Lad Museum. These are two museums. If you're a museum lover, these are two places to really visit. You really can see marvelous art artifacts over there. Can we have the next one? Next slide, please. Okay. So that's the National Gallery of Modern Art. Okay. It's built in the premises of the Institute of Science. And we can't see the picture, Rishabh. It was there was this Sir Qazi Jahangir Hall inside with a capacity of 1,200 people could see art shows, musical performances. In 1996, they took it and changed it into an exhibition center where permanent and temporary exhibitions take place. So the permanent exhibitions have real masters like Souza, M.F. Hussain, Anjali La Menon. So if you are a museum lover, art lover, this is also one place you can look at. Can we see the next picture, please? Yeah, so that's the National Gallery of Modern Art. Now, this is the Wellington Fountain. The Duke of Wellington was in Bombay first time in 1801 and then in 1804. He defeated Napoleon Bonaparte, so very important to British history. He is also very important to Indian history. He defeated the last resisting king, Tipu Sultan of Mysore. And this fountain was built by public subscription in 1865, and recently it has also been restored by Vikas Dilavari, the heritage conservationist architect. Unfortunately, in all these years, what has happened is some people in their enthusiasm painted everything. Okay, they even painted on stone. So these architects really have restored these historically significant memorials and buildings, to their time. Okay, but they have restored it to their original states. Okay, can we have the next building, please? Now, around this Wellington Fountain is the Majestic Hotel, the MGMA, the Prince of Wales Museum, and then on one side is the Maharashtra Police Headquarters. So this was built as Alfred Sailor's home, a guest house for sailors. And this was the first building built in this area in 1876 by Frederick Stevens. The Maharaja Gaikwad of Baroda, he paid for this building. And in the pediment at the top of where the roof is, okay, there's a sculpture of Neptune. So now it houses, of course, the Maharashtra Police Headquarters. Can we have the next picture, please? Okay. Ironically, this was the last building built in this area, and this is the Regal Cinema. First cinema house with a basement parking, air conditioning, and this was the first Art Deco building built in Bombay. And Charles Stevens, he was the one who has built this building. He's the son of Frederick Stevens, and it's so ironic. The father built the first building in the area, and the son built the last building in this area. And I have to give you have to understand, Frederick Stevens was a very good architect. He has given us such beautiful buildings in Bombay. One day I went with some British tourists to find a tomb of a dead soldier from their village. Now, we went to the Sivri Cemetery, and he's buried over there. And I was shocked to see his tomb. Do you know what his tomb is like? Just a granite slab on the top, on the sides, that's it. No, nothing fancy. So the guy who gave us the best buildings in Bombay is buried in the very ordinary tomb in Bombay. Can we have the next slide, please? Rishabh, can we have the next slide, please? Okay, so this is the Dhanraj Mahal. It was built by the Dhanrajgir Raja of Hyderabad. They were monks. And when they built this Art Deco building, it was the most expensive real estate in Bombay in those days. Of course, now we have the most expensive building built by Ambani in Bombay. But this in the olden days, my cousin used to live in this building, and I remember he telling me that if he had to change one tie, he had to go and take permission from the Heritage Board. So this building also houses a lot of art galleries inside, a lot of cafeterias down below. Can we have the next building, please? This is the Royal Yacht Club. Since we have the Arabian Sea in front, naturally we will also have the Yacht Club. And a lot of sailing takes place. It's a Victorian building. Not very well kept from inside, but it just needs a little more attention. Okay, can we see the next slide? Okay, these are the Taj Mahal hotels. That Grand Palace wing that you see is built in 1903 by Jamsetji Tata. I told you because he was not allowed to enter a British-owned hotel, so he built his own hotel. And it's built in a mixture of European and Indian architecture. And its architects are Rao Sahib, Sitaram Khanderao Vaidya, and William Chambers. When you go to any hotel, okay, it's if you see one room is the same as the other. But when you go to the Taj Mahal Hotel, the Palace Wing, it's the most beautiful, exquisite rooms, all differently decorated. And very beautiful hotel. And this tower wing that you see on the right side, in 1972 they built the tower wing to house more people. So this is the best hotel we have in Bombay. And I would suggest, if you have the money to live over here, fair enough. If you don't, at least go and have a high tea. We have a beautiful high tea in the cafeteria on the first floor of the Palace Wing. Can we have the next? Okay, that's the Gateway of India, built to welcome King George V and Queen Mary. They had arrived in 1911. At that time, a temporary structure was built. Permanent structure was built in 1924. And it's built in Indo-Saracenic type of architecture. So if you see the dome, the arches, typical Muslim architecture. If you see the jali work, the perforated screens, the floral motifs, that's typical Hindu temple architecture. A lot of viceroys, governors came through the gate. That's why they call it Gateway of India. Ironically, the last British troops went out from here. And by the way, I get these tourists who tell me that my grandfather proposed to my grandmother under the gateway. And now, unfortunately, we Bombayites also cannot go inside because they've cordoned it off because the street urchins would dirty it from inside. Anyway. And that's the Arabian Sea that you're seeing. Okay. Can you have the next slide? So that's the Gateway of India from the other side. Okay. And that's the Oberoi Hotels, which is on the west coast of India. Now, all these monuments are on the east coast. This is on the west coast. And can we have the next slide? Oberoi and also has beautiful restaurants and cafeterias which you can enjoy food. And you can see the Oberoi at the end on the right side. Okay. And this is the Marine Drive. It's a 6-kilometer stretch of road. When the street lights are on, the British call it the Queen's Necklace. This is not from this year. This must be from last year. Okay. Because now people can also walk on the streets. There's a revolving restaurant over there. Unfortunately, it's under repairs. So this is Bombay. I think we've come to the end of it, Rishabh. Okay. So do come to Bombay, and when you're, since you are our students of travel and tourism, I would suggest people give. Bombay is a very expensive city. It's the truth. But when our tourists come, they tell us they really enjoy the city. They are like, why did our tour operators not keep us for a longer time over here? So what I would suggest is keep your tourists for a longer period in Bombay, at least 2 to 3 days. You can go to Elephanta Caves, you can go to the Kanheri Caves, you can do bazaar walks, you can go to the very old pilgrimage site, the Buleshwar, the Banganga. The Buleshwar is a marketplace which every building has a temple over there. So there are a lot of things you can go to the Buddhist Kanheri Caves, you can go to the pagoda, the largest pagoda in the world. So lots of places to visit on a visit to Bombay. So please keep your tourists at least for 2-3 days in Bombay, and for everyone in India at least a week. There's a lot to see, lot to shop. You can shop till you drop. Bargaining is the word in many places. Okay, and as I always say, if Indians want to see Europe, they don't need to go to Europe. They can come to Bombay and have. And please, please, please hire a regional level guide. Okay, we are licensed by the government of India. We are well trained. We are educated. I may be only a graduate, but I have colleagues who have masters, have PhDs, and a lot of people with lot of colleagues have some special ability. Anyway, any questions?
Okay, thank you so much, Jeru, for the lovely presentation, the walk that you have taken us across the old heritage of Mumbai, and really proud to be having such a beautiful architectural heritage that we have. And I think Mumbai is having the landscape, the richest landscape that they are having is through these heritage buildings that we have gone through with you right now. So really thank you for taking this lovely session, and
Welcome.
a little request from you, as there was some problem with the voice, there was very low voice, so can you give us a little transcript on the buildings that you have covered, so that once we upload it on the YouTube, we will be giving the description also of all these buildings. So
Okay.
a little description can be added to the.
So we started with the town hall. We went to the St. Thomas Cathedral. Then we went to the Victoria Terminus Station. We went to the Bombay Municipal Corporation. We went to the General Post Office. We came back to the Horniman Circle area. We went to the Mumbai Samachar building. We went to the Flora Fountain, the High Court. We went to the Bombay University. Then we came to the Kalagoda area, and we saw the Watson's Hotel, the Army Navy building. We went to the David Sassoon Library. We went to Elphinstone College, and then we went to the museum, the Prince of Wales Museum, the National Gallery of Modern Art. Then we went to the Fellington Fountain, the Maharashtra Police Headquarters, the Regal Cinema, and the Gateway of India, and the Marine Drive.
Okay. How much time does it take to for the walk?
2 hours at least.
2 hours. Okay, okay. We cover all these heritage buildings that you have done with.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Whenever you all want to come to Bombay and have a walk, give me a tinkle. I'll take your students for a walk. Don't worry about it.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much.
It's a beautiful city we have here.
Yes.
I love to show it off.
What is the highlight of the Kala Ghoda festival?
They have these stalls selling pashminas and chanderis and maheshwaris, etc. They have some performances, some ghazal singing, Sufi singing, some dance events.
Okay. Okay. So I think so we should end this session, and thank you so much for giving
Welcome.
us such
Any questions?
session. So on this note, we thank you, and thank you all for attending this session. So thank you. We can.
Okay then.
Okay, bye bye.